Hello, everyone, and welcome to another NLP Insider live show. And thank you so much for joining us today. We are here live every other week for about 15 minutes to talk about everything NLP with industry insiders. My name is David Talby. I'm the CTO at John Snow Labs. And today I'm excited to chat with Swati Sharma, AI lead and head of data science at Brillio. Swati has earned a doctorate in electrical engineering and created many end-to-end customized ML and NLP solutions for clients. Swati was a speaker at the NLP Summit earlier this month, where she presented her talk about call center analytics and how to enhance customer services using actionable insights. It's great to have you here today. Welcome, Swati.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
I'm happy to. I'm excited. So let's jump right in. So Swati, you have a doctorate in electrical engineering, and you worked at AT&T, you worked at Valence Media, at Cedus Digital, and other companies. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and your background?
Yes. So I have a PhD in electrical engineering. I started off in signal processing, applied mathematics, up to my master's, and then for PhD, I spent 5 years immersed in quantum physics and learning more about nano-optoelectronic materials. So it seems very far removed from where I started and where I am now.
Yes.
I feel like all of that structure, educational structure, really laid the foundation of how to understand information, how to process it, how to experiment, and all that. So I did do, I had an engineering life. At some point, I launched 2 startups. I got into quantitative finance and learned how to model, even more human data with the financial markets. And then at some point, I transitioned into data science. So this journey has been very organic. And my first role was definitely at AT&T, which was, close to home, telecom. I got to work with telecom data, very exciting. Then I went to Valence Media, which was, very glamorous environment with, entertainment, film, music. They had their own production houses. So I got to work with some very fascinating data. Again, it's all humanized data for sure.
Mhm.
And then, got a little bit into academia and instructing budding data scientists and teaching them machine learning. And then got into Cedrus, which has now been acquired by Brillio. And I do a lot of client-facing problems, solve a lot of client-facing problems, as well as works on some very interesting internal projects as well to build our IP.
Sounds like an interesting journey.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of the most exciting NLP projects you have worked on.
Yes. So there are so many, but if I had to choose, closest to my heart, it would be definitely my first project ever as a data scientist, where I had to create basically an app for contracted technicians who went and did repairs for AT&T products.
Mhm.
And usually they were not trained. So based on historical data, log data, I was able to create and create somewhat of like a recommendation engine where they would enter in a query as to what they need help on, and I would be able to provide them with a step-by-step solution based on similar problems encountered in the past. And I think one of the most intriguing projects I worked on was at Valence Media, where I got to predict Oscar Award nominees and winners as well. So we looked at tweets from from those who are invited into the committee, and based on the tone, the content, what they were discussing, we were able to, I was able to predict who were the nominees and winners, and that was a really fun project. And of course, here now at Brillio, call center analytics is definitely very close to heart, and something that I've been spending a lot of time working on and researching.
Interesting. So the Oscar award, did it work?
Yes, yes. It was used to make some business decisions for the production houses and how to predict, future films, how they wanted to structure them, what actors, in order to ensure a blockbuster.
Yeah, so you need to be careful with those models. You're actually making an impact on culture there.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting. So at the NLP Summit earlier this month, you presented a talk about call center analytics and enhancing customer service that way. Can you give us an overview of the research for those who missed your presentation?
Absolutely. So, call center analytics is actually, very important to businesses. And as you all know, customer service is an integral component for businesses globally. I mean, almost everyone has their own call center internally, externally. So it's a way for them to maintain, retain, and grow their customer base. Show new products and basically interact and get the feel of the crowd. But it's a free service that they offer to their customers, which is a cost to them. So we need to make this as effective and efficient and painless to the customer. I know, we've all experienced that being on long holds and everything. So up till now, what they've been doing to really make their call centers efficient is just looking at kind of manually documented information. So at the end of a call, a CSR agent will have like a pull down menu with some discrete, um, you know, ideas to pick from, and it's all very subjective actually. So it's not really 100% accurate. And it's all very surface level. So that's where call center analytics comes in, where we're able to tap into the calls themselves, the content of the calls, and dive in and untap these latent insights. And there are basically four categories of insights that we're extracting. We're extracting um, what are the calls about, the intents for these call. We're extracting the context. So we know, what the issues are, but what exactly, like for example, health insurance, do they want to call, are they calling to change, cancel, or add something to their plan? So we're able to find that granularity. And then third, we're able to monitor and assess certain activities with a series of indicators. For example, was the issue even resolved? Was there an escalation? Things like that. And then lastly, the fourth one, which is perception. So perception from both sides, the customer perception as well as the perception of how well the operation handled the calls. So these four insights, they really are very valuable in doing RCA root cause analysis. In routing the calls more efficiently and automating, possibly leading into conversational AI. Many other options we can get into. But at the end of the day, it leads to a very happy customer who's able to get in with his issue and resolved very quickly, efficiently. And this in turn adds value to the business. So we've been able to create this customized pipeline. With we've really gone in and created our own algorithms to extract the information, process it, manipulate it, and we've even put it in like a very super user friendly dashboard so that anybody can have access to these insights. And it's been a very interesting piece of research and an offering that our group has been working on.
So you're dealing with the whole lot of call data and the very granular insights that you're looking for. So how do you find the needle in a haystack? How do you find something useful? What's your approach to data and solutioning?
Yes. So as you can imagine, our real world data is extremely messy, very noisy. In fact, any data that is humanized is going to have noise plus randomness.
Always those humans, yes.
Yeah. So, I feel I've spent years and years understanding this. And, you really have to spend that time before you search for the needle in the haystack. You must spend that time to understand the data, to open it up, manipulate it, stretch it out this way, that way, create your own features until you can really tune into the frequency of the data. And at that point, that's when the magic happens. That's when the data starts speaking on its own, and you just have to coax it out with these algorithms. And step by step, you build these algorithms based on how this data is behaving with whatever sort of structure you're applying mathematically. So that's basically the whole workflow I've been following. It's mainly understanding the data
Mhm.
and getting to that core of what the data is really saying.
Interesting. What are your thoughts on data responsibility?
Yes. So this is quite a huge topic, actually.
Mhm.
So we as data scientists, I mean, I myself, day to day, I have a lot of responsibility as to how I interpret the data, how I use the data. So I think it all boils down to integrity of the individual themselves, and maintaining that throughout the whole process of solutioning, and including the storytelling, which is probably where the integrity really comes in, as to letting the data speak for itself, and understanding that this whole process that you're building must be of some benefit to somebody, some financial benefit. It must make our lives easier, better, happier. But if at any step we feel that we are, going to not do that, we must, pause and redirect. But it's definitely, you have to maintain the sanctity of the data as well, and maintain your integrity throughout the whole process. So it's something that requires a little bit of checks and balances, and it needs to be evaluated at every point.
So can you give an example of like a best practice or a tool that you apply with your team to make sure that things are done the right way?
Yes. I often find, just incidentally, this was a conversation I had the other day, where we had understood the data, we cleaned it up and processed it so beautifully, but we were applying some sort of algorithm, and the results weren't coming to exactly the quality that we strive for. So there was some suggestion, oh, can we go in and manually adjust and clean it up, and try to make it look pretty. So at that point, you really need to have, sometimes people get a little stuck with their problems, and they don't take a step back and realize the bigger picture. But it's important that we always represent the data as honestly as possible, and maybe that's how the data is. It's not meant to be so beautiful as an output. I mean, that's reality. It is humanized data, so we have to accept that. And if it's still not um, to the quality of output that we're looking, then we need to adjust our methodology, our algorithms that we're applying to it. So I think, that is definitely one situation. Like I said, definitely when you're presenting this, a lot of us have to go into the storytelling and
Mhm.
market our whole methodologies. It's very easy to get caught up in just getting the deal and getting the approval, and just letting certain things slide. And I feel that's where the problems can arise, not just for ourselves when we have to make sure that these results are repeatable, but it could have a big impact later down, which could you know be a bad impact in certain areas.
I completely agree. Yeah. So what advice would you give to new data scientists?
Yes. I feel that there's like basically four things I would tell data scientists. I often have these conversations with students, or with my team. First and foremost is to have that positive go-getter attitude, and you're going to get a lot of pitfalls, obstacles, things are not going to work. But if you can just get up and look at it from a different angle, discuss it with somebody, and just have that attitude that nothing is impossible. You just have to be creative in your approach. Second would be to just peel away the layers of algorithms and get deeper and deeper into the mathematics. I feel, some of us kind of get caught up with just being able to code and just implement an algorithm and call it a day. But I think if you really want to be successful, you need to understand the functionality of these algorithms and when and how to use them, and maybe, with combinations of other algorithms. Third would be communication. I feel that a lot of us have the technical background. I mean, I know for myself in electrical engineering, communication is not a forte, but it's something that I have made a conscious effort to learn, to explain concepts in a very simple manner so that anybody can pick it up and understand what I'm trying to show with this. And the last thing would be to have some sort of business sense, to understand what makes sense financially to the business, what is the use case, how can we benefit them, what more can we do with this data. So I think these 4 things, if you can master them or slowly evolve into mastering them, I think you will definitely be a successful data scientist.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of this with us, sharing your knowledge, sharing your insights. It was great speaking with you today. Everyone, if you want, definitely you feel free to connect with Swati on LinkedIn and continue a conversation. As I said, Swati also has a talk at the NLP Summit. If you miss Swati's talk, you can still register and watch the on-demand video for free online, as well as 50 other technical presentations on state-of-the-art applied NLP. So we'll add the sign-up link here so that you can learn more and continue growing. So thank you very much for joining us today, and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.